free on that asphalt lane. 4 wide a ton a day, they ain't holding no chain.
Gordon front back comfort, can't wait to get Peggy. Bars and umbrellas on box, paper is 19.
4 cars side by side in a wild thrill ride, with the roar of the engines leaving all doubts behind. As the wheels spin on, chasing dreams we can't hide. That's car life where legends never die.
What is up, everybody? It is great to be with you back on the 4 Wide podcast tonight. So week 2 of being back, Cole. Super excited for my 4 Wide podcast paternity leave that you gave me. So super excited about that. So appreciate it, man. But happy to be back with you. How are you, Cole?
Just living the dream, man. One day at a time. Just walking the path.
All right, absolutely. Good to have Bowman back in, I'm sure, as a Bowman fan for yourself this week, even though it wasn't great. But, you know, we're
small victories.
steps.
Yeah, small victories.
Yeah, for sure. But you didn't tune in tonight to just hear me and Cole talk about Alex Bowman. We got us a great guest, Mr. Alan Huffman. And Alan, how are you tonight, man?
Oh, man, doing great. It's been a great day here and just getting stuff done.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, Alan, for our listeners who might not know much about you, give an introduction to who you are and what's your background in the racing world.
Gotcha. So my name is Alan Huffman, and man, I've been involved in racing since I was 5 years old. I remember sitting in the grandstands at Hickory Motor Speedway and watching, all the greats come up through the ranks there at Hickory. It's the very first time I ever went to a racetrack, a gentleman by the name of Robert Huffman actually won that first race. We kind of shared the same last name, no relation, but I was hooked as a 5-year-old kid that somebody with my last name won the race. So got into go-karts, kind of fast forward, ran some mini stock stuff. My brother and I started the team from scratch, and neither one of us had a clue what we was doing. We just wanted to be involved in racing. And so ran mini stocks, got to Pro 4s, ran with Matt DiBenedetto and some other great drivers there. 6, I kind of racing kind of got out of order in my life, and I lost touch with a lot of things, and unfortunately kind of worshipped racing in all the wrong ways. Ended up selling everything, went to Bible college. God kind of dropped opportunity to get back in a car in 2011. So we relaunched the race team in 2012. Again, my brother and I, and a few other friends. Ran limited late models 2012 to 2015, 16. Got into the late model super trucks in 2015, and finally started finding some good success and started running up front, winning some races. Won 2 back-to-back track championships, 2 fall brawl championships, Southeast Super Truck Championship. Just a lot of really cool things, on the racetrack. And about three years ago, I actually got approved for the Craftsman Truck Series. Working on a few things there, trying to see if we can maybe find the funding to be able to make that happen. Trying to make that story a little short because that's about a 45-minute conversation. But
So you said that your roots is at Hickory Motor Speedway.
Yes, sir.
And what we know that big ARCA East race was there. Were you able to attend and talk about the atmosphere that was there? I like to give the local tracks a big shout out when we can.
Yeah, I tell you, Hickory catches a lot of flack, but man, Hickory's doing a great job. They've been working really hard to get some things going in the right direction, and all the staff there is doing a great job. I was able to be at the ARCA race. Actually, I was helping. So one of the guys that we partner with and do a lot of stuff with is Jason Smith Racing, and JSR had the chance to partner with Garage 66 and MBM Motorsports. Actually, a young lady by the name of Destiny made her ARCA debut at Hickory. She's actually recorded as the first African American female to ever start an ARCA race.
Wow.
She finished, I think it was 7th or 9th or something like that. But so I had the privilege to be able to hang out with them and be a part of their deal those 2 days. Man, it was so great to see my home track just packed out. Such an electric feel there.
I know that you said that you're obviously looking at trying to make something happen in the Craftsman Truck Series, but in regards to NASCAR overall, you can talk about ARCA trucks. How plugged in are you into NASCAR currently in regards to just watching it as a fan? Are you an avid watcher every weekend when you can, or are you kind of just a I wouldn't say fair weather NASCAR fan, but you're not able to watch as much as you would want to?
Yeah, and it's a great question. I've got a lot of friends that are involved in the sport, all the way from the weekly series up to the cup level. From Josh Berry, that we had a chance to do a lot of work with him back when he was at Hickory, to Mason Maggio, to Jordan Anderson's race team. I've actually helped him some over the years, and got to be a part of his stuff. Spencer Boyd, so many guys that have. In fact, I was sitting there the other night, and it was up at Bristol, and got to be there in person for all three races, and just going through my head, kind of down the list of everybody that's running. I was like, well, man, I've raced against them. And yeah, I know them. I remember them at Hickory. Oh goodness, William Byron and Chase Elliott, and all these guys that have come through Hickory. I don't typically get a chance to watch a lot of the races. I try to. If I catch one, it's typically I try to catch all the truck races, and then the O'Reilly races as I can. Try to be able to watch the ones that I know, some people that's competing in them.
Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense because personal ties and stuff. I know that you were talking about Matt DiBenedetto at one point. Me and Blake actually got to sponsor him back when he was part of Viking
Really?
Motorsports,
Okay.
and I've been avid fans from him even from the days of the Wood brothers and all the trials and tribulations that he's kind of went through here in the last few years. And what most people boil it down to is the sponsorship, which you kind of mentioned in regards to NASCAR. You're talking about how it is to try to get something prepared for the truck series, but what's your overall thoughts going into that realm of world? Because I know you have people that you raced against that are in NASCAR, but now like trying to find a way to get in and seeing how much it takes to get the ball moving. How's that been for you?
Yeah, and it's been an interesting journey, and I think back, and you mentioned Matt again. I'm so thankful for the friendship that I've got with Matt. I've known him since he first came to Hickory Motor Speedway, and then we got reconnected about 2-3 years ago, and just to be able to build on that relationship has just been phenomenal. He's a great guy, great friend, and as I've worked with him and Jordan Anderson and some others, just trying to, the, the, the hardest part of our sport, whether it's the weekly grassroots racer or getting to ARCA or trucks or O'Reilly's or whatever, is definitely the financial piece, the, trying to put together the sponsors and all of that stuff. And, I used to joke where we've always been a team that's been one catastrophic event away from being done, and I had too many of those. We've had, our fair share. You race long enough, things are going to happen. One of the biggest is November 2024. We had raced down at Florence Speedway, and actually had a decent night. Not great, but it was decent. And woke up the next morning, and our truck, trailer, race truck, all of our tools, parts, everything I owned, as well as most of what my brother owned, had been stolen from the hotel that night. And so that, because of that, we only ran one race last year, and we borrowed a bunch of stuff from a couple friends to be able to make it to the track. So you go through things like that, or you go through a night, we ran a late model race at Hickory and had a brand new Harrington Enforcer engine that hand grenaded 13 laps to the race. And, so you're doing all of this stuff to try to get approval and make it to the next step. And it all comes like anything else we do. It all comes with challenges. The financial piece is definitely one for, especially a team like us, that for the most part, we've built our program. I was working 3-4 jobs at a time just to kind of build the initial stages of what we needed to make it to the next level. And the funny thing is we had the funding for a truck race, but at the time, the official wording that I got back was I needed to do a late model race before they would approve me for the truck. And so we kind of had to work through some things there. We ran 2 late model races, and in the middle of that, we won a couple championships, and that was enough to get me approved. Well, once we got the approval, the sponsor had done moved on. So it's just trying to get those things to line up. We're talking with two businesses currently that seem to be fairly interested in maybe doing a full sponsor deal for a truck race this year. So I'm not, by no means am I forecasting that we're going to make a truck race in the Chrysler Truck Series. I don't want to be that guy. I'm a little hopeful it might work out. In the meantime, we're working to get our late model truck program back together, and I got to make a trip to Mooresville this week to go pick up a bunch of stuff for the truck. And was going to try to run this weekend, but we've kind of pushed that back till May 16th. So hopefully we'll be back on track May 16th at Hickory.
Yeah, I know you mentioned a lot of guys who you've been able to race against. Who would you say is the best driver that you've beaten?
The best driver that I've beat.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? That I've
Yeah.
beat? Well, it's funny. Spencer Boyd and I have this kind of ongoing thing. He's only beat us at Hickory one time.
Okay.
Every other time we've raced against him, we've been able to beat him. And I think of Matt. Back when Matt and I was running Pro Fours at Hickory, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure. In fact, I do know this. We were the only driver to outqualify Matt Benedetto in 2005 in the Pro Four Series at Hickory. It's not much of a claim to fame, but that's one of the best ones I got. A lot of the other guys, that we raced in limiteds and stuff, just to be able to look back and see where they are now is really cool. And some people's like, well, aren't you jealous of them? I'm like, nah, not really. They just, things lined up for them. And I'm happy for them. I look at William Byron, I look at Josh Berry, I look at some of these others that we got to watch come through Hickory, and it's just cool. People like that make it, our short track racing world wins. And I think that's great.
Yeah, and I think just from a fan's perspective, I'd love to see like the evolution of some of those guys' careers, like a Josh Berry, who just grassroots racer on the short track. William Byron with the iRacing, right? It's
Yeah.
like who would
Yeah,
have thought even just 20 years ago that I would have got you to the Cup Series, right?
absolutely. Well, and there's so much talent at the short track level. Lee Pulliam just made his debut in the O'Reilly series. And, that's a guy that in the short track world, he showed up at the track and you're like, oh, snap, I got to race against him.
Yeah, no, I see that for sure. I know you've talked about a lot of your partnerships that you've had. When you say you've done some work for like Jordan Anderson or helped some of these other teams, what have you done specifically to help them? What did your role look like with that specific scenarios?
So, it really was just whatever they needed help with. A lot of times it's just, pit support. I did get to help Jordan one week up in Canada. What was that? Canadian Motorsports Parkway. And before the race that morning, he's like, have you ever went over the wall with a fuel can? I'm like, nope. How you feel about it? It's like, well, whatever you need me to do.
Yeah.
I didn't end up having to go over the wall, but I was responsible for getting all the fuel cans, responsible for handing the fuel can over the wall. And, really just in those situations, it's not been a ton of opportunities, but it's been a few. And, just whatever they need me to do. Honestly, even for the ARCA thing with Carl Long, I made the joke that I turned my steering wheel in for a spatula because I was cooking all the food for the team that weekend. So, just again, it's whatever you're asked to do. I remember when I did the Bobby Isaac Motorsports program at CVCC, and my first job with a team in Mooresville was literally sweeping the floors and cleaning the RV after race weekend, and it stunk. It was awful, but I was a part of a team. I was living the dream.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'll throw it to Cole here.
So, in regards to your racing, what would you say like your style of racing is? Are you kind of like when I think of someone that runs the wall, like a Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, or are you like kind of like a Josh Berry where you kind of going to the bottom most of the time? And I would imagine it's kind of an easy answer given it's short track routes, but still, I have to throw the question out there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was afraid you was going to ask if I was like more like a Carson Hocevar or something like that. Which, by the way, I love Carson's awesome. I've had a chance to meet him a few times. Great, great guy, great personality. But I would say probably inside guy if I'm giving my race secrets up here, but if I'm going to try to set somebody up, most of the time, especially short track, I'm going to try to go inside just because for me, I feel like I can get a better drive. I can control the situation better. Whereas if you roll the high side, we had an incident, we 3 races from the end of the season and first lap and we ended up head on in the outside wall because of somebody else's mistake. And, that cost us a championship that year by 2 points. So I always get a little more nervous if I'm having to roll the high side. Now there's times that, Anderson Speedway, 2 years ago, we were down there, and for whatever reason, the truck was just better on the high side. So sometimes you got to suck it up and go where the truck wants to go. But if I had to make a decision, I'm typically going for the inside, shortest way around the track.
That's right. So obviously, for the people that are here on the YouTube audience, you can see a lot of you have a lot of hardware in that room with you. There's one particular championship that you're probably the most proudest of. Which one would that be if you had to choose one?
Man, goodness, that's hard because every single one of them has a story. None of the races we've won or championships we've won is really anything I can take credit for. It's God has lined stuff up and opened doors to allow each one of those to happen. If I had to pick one, I'm going to say, yeah, it's actually the one to my, well, just over my shoulder. It was the 2016 Fall Royale Championship. We won the biggest race of the year. There was, I think there was 20 couple trucks that was there. I remember walking through the infield that morning, and I'm looking at the trucks that showed up, and I was like, man, I really felt hopeful about this. We've been finishing second, third all year. And even the year before, our worst finish had been third place. And we were so close to getting that first win. And I'm walking through the pits with my crew chief, and I was like, well, I thought we had a chance to win tonight, but man, that guy's here and he's here, and all these heavy hitters had come in, and we sat on the pole that night, straight away the field on every restart, and won the race by a straightaway. And one of the coolest parts of that, not just being able to see my team be able to go to their first win, but to be able, there was a guy that was helping us. His name was Anthony. He was confined to a wheelchair. He come down across because he always went up to grandstands to watch the race. And I remember looking out at the crossover gate, and he's coming across the track on his wheelchair on two wheels. He's hammered down. And, just the biggest hug, the biggest celebration. And that one sticks out because in February, Anthony stepped into eternity. And so to know that I got to celebrate that win with Anthony and my entire team, my brother and family and all the supporters, it was a dream come true that started when I was 5 years old. And it just happened to be my birthday weekend too. So that made it even better.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing for that. That was really awesome to hear. Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, so we talked a lot about what you've done on track. Something that I noticed this weekend is you do some work with Raceway Ministries, and I think this is something in the racing world that might not get the spotlight that it should. What I want to know is, what is Raceway Ministries? What's the difference in Raceway Ministries, motor racing outreach? And this past weekend at Bristol, what is a chaplain's life? What does a weekend look like for those in Raceway Ministries?
Sure. And that's a great question. I'm honestly glad you asked that. So kind of take that second question first. The difference between MRO, motor racing outreach, and Raceway Ministries is MRO is primarily focused on drivers, teams, officials, the safety crews, all of that. So most of their focus is on inside of the track. With Raceway Ministries, our focus is primarily race fans. We do some in-track ministry, especially the tracks that have campgrounds inside of the track. But most of what we do is fan ministry. Now, there's kind of two legs of that. There's our teams that minister at the NASCAR tracks, any track that NASCAR goes to with a big series. But then we've also got chaplains that work with the local series, so the weekly series, whether they race Friday night, Saturday night, or Sundays, whatever. And essentially, so my role with Raceway Ministries is actually, as of January, I am the new executive director for the National Fellowship of Raceway Ministries.
Right.
And so my job is to kind of help oversee all of the teams, help our teams to, explore new opportunities for ministry, to make sure that, we're working together, unified as one global or national ministry, and really just to be a support for them, as questions and issues arise, working with the tracks closely of, what their needs are. So we do a lot of service ministry, golf cart ministry, helping with, providing fan services, questions at the track and stuff like that. They do a lot of campground ministry. So they're in the campgrounds. Typically we've got a campground mayor or host that's helping with, what's going on in the campgrounds. A lot of our tracks, like Bristol, for example, they actually had 3 ministry tents set up outside of the track, one at each campground, to just be there to interact with campers and hang out with the families and stuff like that. And then Bristol's unique because they actually had 2 tents inside of the track in the grandstand area where we were giving away cookies and books and literature and just there to help with the EMS and fire. If there was a need for us to just have a chaplain present, if someone needed something from, a spiritual perspective. A lot of our stuff centers around, just engagement with race fans. Typically they'll do, breakfast. At Bristol, we had country ham, biscuits, and gravy and sausage on Sunday morning, and then transition into a chapel service with music, a speaker. I actually had the privilege to be able to speak at the All-American Campground Sunday morning during the breakfast and chapel time. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do as Raceway Ministries. I think, did I answer all of your questions there?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to follow it up with what's the partnership look like with the track and Raceway Ministry? So I know you said you were in the campground, but is it something where the track invites y'all? Do you ask to go to the track? And what are some stories of things that have really happened that's been transformational for some people's lives? Like, how has the ministry of Raceway Ministries been effective for people?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So, it truly is a partnership with the NASCAR tracks. A lot of times, and the great thing is we've got, I think it's 23 or Raceway Ministry teams all across the U.S. And the great thing is a lot of those teams are well-established teams. Martinsville, Bristol, Charlotte, um, Atlanta, Dover, all of these different tracks. And so those are kind of, those are just, they're maintaining the relationships. They're continuing to work with those tracks to figure out, how can we best come alongside of you to be able to serve and to be able to serve your fans. For new ventures, it's a lot of times it's us reaching out to the tracks to try to discover ways that we can serve. How can we come alongside of them and help? So that's kind of the biggest piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, I got you. And what inspired you to get involved in it?
So when we relaunched our ministry, well, when we relaunched our race team in 2012, when I got out of racing, I was doing all of it for the wrong reasons. I was doing church for the wrong reasons. I was doing life for the wrong reasons. I was doing my Christian walk for the wrong reasons. It was all about trying to meet some level of committedness of being a person of faith, hoping that God would allow me to be able to live out my dream of racing. And so when all of that stuff fell apart and God really got my attention of what really matters, and it's not about stuff and things and a checklist, that it's really about a relationship with Him. When we restarted the racing side, I wanted to do it different and wanted to be right. In fact, so much so that I refused to even use the race car number that we had always used from the time I was 12 years old. I refused to use that number because I didn't want to do anything to go back to that period of my life, because I wanted to be different. And so as we did that and tried to understand how can we do this and how can we really have an impact on people and be able to use racing as a platform to share the gospel, I found out through a good friend of mine now, his name is Greg Berkey with Auto Racing Outreach, that there was this really cool ministry called National Fellowship Raceway Ministries. And so we went to that first meeting in Daytona that year, and I was hooked. I loved everything that ministry stood for, and I've been a part of it since then. And so now to look back at 2012 and to have the privilege today to lead this ministry into the future is probably a bigger dream come true than it ever was to make it as a NASCAR driver. I know you also asked me about what are some of the impact stories. One of them that jumps out at the top of the list, and there's so many, is there was a guy, we were at Darlington Speedway a couple years ago, and this guy came by and he had been by 3 or 4 times. We had a race truck set up out there. It was letting, fans get in it and check it out and see a real race truck and all that. And every time he come by, he's like, "I'm going to steal them keys. I'm going to steal the keys to the truck, man." And I'm like, "Dude, you go right ahead." I said, "It's not going to run because there's no engine in it right now."
Yeah.
I'm going to steal them keys. And so one of the times he come by and he was a little slower and had some time to talk and we're just talking and I felt God laid it on my heart. Hey, ask him if he's got any prayer request. And I did. And his entire expression on his face changed. Well, why would you ask that? So, man, I just want to know how I can pray for you. And so he laid out this whole laundry list of stuff, and I learned so much about what he was going through, what he was dealing with, and behind the smile, I got to see the reality of somebody that just needed to know they mattered. And so we prayed and said amen. I looked up and tears were running down his cheek. He's like, man, he said, you have no idea. He said, I've heard about church. I've heard about God. I've heard about Jesus. I've heard about all this stuff. He said, but you're the first person that ever asked me if they could pray for me. He said, I've never had that experience. He said, I think maybe there is a God that really does care about me. So we got to talk about that. And there, again, that's just one of, I could spend the next 2 days just sharing stories of what God has done, whether it's through Raceway Ministries at the national tracks or at the local short track.
So you mentioned, throughout your racing career and what you've done through ministry, there's been a little bit of trials and tribulations. Is there a particular passage that's really helped you throughout your journey through your faith the most? One that you may find yourself returning to more often than not?
The biggest one, and there are a lot, our theme verse for the ministry, 2 Corinthians 5:17. And it's the reason NCN Ministries is called NCN Ministries. And it says that through Christ, I'm a new creation. Old things have passed away and all things have become new. And our goal as a ministry is to create a nation of new creations. And so we've actually worked that verse into our number 51, and we've actually got that verse at the bottom of the 5 on our race truck. So there's so many different verses, but the biggest verse has had an impact on my life, and honestly it goes back to 2006 when I was going through the worst part of my life. There were so many things that had went wrong. From my mom had been diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. My dad had a surgery that went south. I'd lost a relationship that carried a lot of impact in my life. And in the middle of all of that, I was pouring myself deeper and deeper into racing, thinking that was going to be the solution. And that's what was going to make me happy and fix me. And in the middle of that, as I began to draw some attention to our racing program, and I got to Big Head and church, and the concept of Christianity had less of an impact on my life. And I was doing all these things. I was singing in the choir. I was running the sound system. I was serving in church. I was doing all this stuff, trying to earn enough brownie points. And that when it all fell apart and I was left with and just transparency, we got destroyed one night. It took 2 wreckers to load the car up on the trailer, and we took a engine lift to drag the car off the trailer. And I'm sitting in the shop by myself. And the best way I can describe it is if you think back to the movie Days of Thunder, and there's the one light on over the car, and Harry Hogg is talking about how awesome this car is going to be. Well, I was doing the opposite of yelling at God about how dumb this situation was and how I couldn't believe he had taken my dream away from me and ruined any chance I was ever going to have to being a NASCAR driver. In the middle of all that, and it wasn't just the wreck, it was everything else, that I came to a point in my life that I had no purpose. I had no reason to live. I had no reason to go on. I had no desire, no drive. I had lost everything in my life, including my racing, what I thought was going to be my racing career. And God brought me to a point of making that question, God, do I matter? God, do you see me? Nobody else seems to see me. Nobody else seems to care if I exist or not. I felt God saying yes, but I'm like, God, I need to know. I need proof. I need some way. I need something tangible. Show me that I matter to you. And God took me to the story of creation in Genesis 1. And I read through that, and I read all the way through creation and see where, God spoke everything, and so it was. Then God said, and so it was, all the way through creation. And he gets to Genesis 2, verse 7, and it was different. In Genesis 2:7, it says, then the Lord God formed man out of the dust of the earth and breathed his breath of life into him. that gripped my spirit. And I was like, why is this different? Why does this matter? And so I started digging into that and researching. That word formed essentially means, the picture there is that God got down on his hands and knees when it came time to create humanity. And he created humanity in his image out of the dust of the earth. And then God did something that he did not do with anything else in creation. He breathed his breath of life into Adam. Funny because, and it's cool that you asked this question, because just 3 weeks ago, I was reflecting on this verse and just kind of trying to process things. And God reminded me of that verse again, of that. Then the Lord God formed man out of the dust of the earth and breathed his breath of life. And it made me think back. I was a volunteer fireman for a while, so I've been through CPR classes. I've seen people have to do mouth to mouth resuscitation. The image that God gave me a couple weeks ago was that Alan, you are so important to me and my creation. And you mean so much to me that I personally breathed my breath of life into you, because I created you for this time, for this moment, to go a step further, knowing that you are going to screw up, knowing that you're going to make some bad decisions, a lot of them, that I sent my son to die on a cross to raise from the dead 3 days later. Because Alan, from the very beginning, I wanted a relationship with you. That started in the garden. It started by God breathing his breath of life into us. And it continues on through the story of what Christ did on the cross and the future that's to come. And so the pivotal verse for my life, as much as I want to say 2 Corinthians 5:17 is really that Genesis 2 verse 7.
That's awesome. I
You're going to
appreciate
get
you.
me excited here in a moment,
Yeah,
man.
we appreciate hearing the testimony and all, and just you can hear it how much it means to you. You can rawly feel it. So we appreciate you talking about that. I know we've kept you for a good bit, so I'll throw it to Blake for the last question that he loves to ask all the time.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to ask about what is NC in ministry, but I think you pretty much did a good synopsis of that, right? But I want to ask you, how can fans best support Alan Huffman in his racing career right now?
The biggest answer to that is prayer. You know, the reason we exist is I wanted to create something different. There's been a lot of people over the years that have used God's name to go racing. And for us, I never want it to be about that. We race so we can use that platform to be able to share the gospel. My heart of hearts, everything within me is the fact that if Christ came back today, that over 57 million students in the United States would step into eternity without Christ. People ask me all the time, how do we make a difference in our world? How do we change our country? How do we impact our churches? Well, we do it by reaching the next generation. And so June of last year, I finally, after running from God for 4 years, I finally took the leap to leave my full-time job to do full-time ministry. And God has so blessed that venture. We got our 501c3 certification back in September. So we're an official 501c3 ministry. It's kind of a two-folded piece, and sorry to kind of drag the answer out, but from the ministry perspective is really prayer. And, you know, we're constantly looking for opportunities to be able to go and share. You know, we 2 trucks that we can take with us to events. You know, we can do ministry events, camps, conferences, rallies, revivals, pulpit supply, stuff like that. We do a lot of events without the truck. So, you know, there's a lot of places where we can't afford to bring the truck out with you. We're not interested in the truck, or it won't work for our event. That's great. Honestly, it's cheaper. It's easier for me to come and, you know, jump on a plane and go wherever I need to go, or jump in the car and just, you know, a lot cheaper right now, $6 a gallon diesel fuel. You know, so that's one of the biggest ways. On the racing side, is anybody that's interested in partnering with us, whether for our weekly late model super truck program, or as we try to you know, bring this vision to reality of being able to make our Craftsman truck debut. You know, sponsors, you know, for that perspective, to be able to get things back on track. You know, we're still trying to recover from the theft. God was good. He answered our prayer. My prayer was that, well, our prayer and our team's prayer was that if we could get the race truck, the trailer, and the pit box back, then at least we could figure out a way to be able to move forward with our local program. the funny thing is, we got the race truck back. The trailer was hurt really bad, but we got it back. It still pulls kind of straight, so it's good. And we got the pit box back. It was empty, but we got the box back. Unfortunately, we lost 20 some years worth of tools and parts and everything down to the refrigerator that was on the trailer. But, so we're working to kind of rebuild that back. We, a lot of our stuff needed to be serviced. So we sent all that down to Mooresville a couple weeks ago. So we've got to go pick the rear end transmission shocks back up and got some maintenance to do on the engine. And so we've got a lot of things that we're trying to put together. Our goal is to try to run 3 or 4 weekly races this year, maybe more if God opens the door. It just depends on sponsorship and partnerships. But our big goal is to try to see if we can make that Craftsman truck race a reality.
Nice. Nice. Well, we would definitely love to see that happen for sure because I think you got a couple fans here for sure. So, yeah, would absolutely love to see you go Craftsman truck racing. And when did you say was your first race back at Hickory that you're planning on?
So our the race that we have kind of circled on the calendar right now is May 16th. We got a new paint scheme getting ready to come too.
Well, if you're in the Hickory area, definitely give our guy a shout out and go to the race and support him for sure because that'd be good. Hickory's a great track. Well, Alan, I want to say thank you for coming on to us and coming on to the show. And man, we really appreciate it. Loved your passion for racing. Most of all, love your passion for the gospel of Jesus Christ. Thank you for what you do for the racing community, but most importantly, thank you for what you do for the kingdom. And I love that you want to make an impact and help race fans during their race weekend. And I just want to say thank you for all that you do, man. It's really admirable. So we appreciate that.
Thank you. And, I just, the last thing I want to say is I just want to thank everybody that stood with us and supported us, from other teams like JSR to Dylan Mays and his racing stuff and my entire team, my crew chief, my brother. There's so many people that the average fan doesn't understand what all goes into getting a vehicle to the racetrack. And I could not do it without the guys and the ladies that help make it happen. So I just got to give them a huge shout out.
It's like we were talking to another guy that races locally on the West Coast, Carter Krogan, and he mentioned that that's how the racing community acts kind of like a family. When you have certain issues and tribulations, like the parts being stolen, you mentioned that people catered in was able to help out with whatever they had spare. He kind of mirrored the same thing, and I think a lot of people don't see that side of racing, especially on the local level. Is you guys are competitors, but at the end of the day, you're really a community.
Yeah, and that is so true. And that's what I love about racing is you can get out there and you can rub fenders and you may have your heated moments just like you do with a sibling, but at the end of the day, you're family. And, I know we were Anderson. One more quick story. Anderson, South Carolina, we was racing and I become really good friends with a guy by the name of Marty Ward. And I was in the race where he passed away. And, to go at the same time, I was the chaplain for the Southeast Truck Series. And so to try to balance that hat of, I just watched a really good friend of mine make his last lap he'll ever make on the racetrack to what do I need to do to be there for my racing family? But just to watch this family come together, no matter what the situation is and support each other is unlike anything we see in any other sport.
Yeah, amen. Well, we really appreciate you having on the show, like Blake said, and we will definitely help out where we can when possible for you. We want to see you do good regardless of whatever you're doing. So
Well,
thank you
thank you,
so
man.
much for joining us today.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. Thank you for reaching out. I've had a blast. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll move on to the next segment. Well, that was an awesome conversation that we got. Honestly, I felt so like I was in the conversation, but I was enjoying the conversation so much. I felt like I was like a spectator in a way, right?
Yeah.
That was so cool, and we were really appreciative of him coming on and not only sharing his racing career, but also his testimony. I think anytime you share anybody's testimony, it's a good chance for new people to be introduced to the faith. I really appreciated him being as open as he was on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that's all you can ask for, right? And I know we were talking a little bit about it off air, but man, I absolutely love racing. And, think about how many NBA players would talk to us, take some time to talk to just normal fans. How many NFL players, how many, mainstream hockey players? Not a lot, right? But one thing that racing does, you have a lot more people who would talk to the everyday fan and just do it, right? And Alan Huffman is one of those guys, and I think that shows you like how awesome it is being a local race car driver, but pouring back into those local fans and knowing that you do it for them, right? And so I love it, man. And I think that's one of the great things that we get to do on this podcast, man. Because like these drivers put their pants on the same way we do, right? And um they give us some time, and I'm appreciative of it for sure.
Definitely. Well, we got a packed weekend to get through, so we're going to go ahead and hammer down on this.
Yeah.
Obviously, we start with the truck race, right? And the guy that most people would have pegged the favorite coming into this race didn't win. And I'm not even talking about Corey Heim when I say that. I think Lane Riggs is usually a guy that you have circled anytime that you're on a short track. And based upon the history that he's had at Bristol here in the last few that he's been the guy. And he wasn't he was up front, sure, but he was not the guy that I thought he was going to be. We seen some other guys up front, like a Christian Eckes. What was your overall thoughts of the Bristol truck race, Blake?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I think when you look at that race, it does kind of remind you a little bit of old school Bristol because it's going to be bottom line, and those boys are hungry to get after it, right? But man, I thought Christian Eckes hit about everything but the pace truck that night. That definitely made it interesting for sure, and especially the fact that because of that wreck, it was like Corey Haim's first DNF since like 2024, and so super wild. But no, I loved it. It was kind of that old school feel, and kind of like that short track vibe where it's going to be one lane, and you gotta get after it.
But at the end of the day, though, it wasn't Christian Eckes that took home the victory. And it wasn't Corey Heim, obviously, because Corey Heim was taken out, but it was a guy that we've heard of, former truck champion, right? Christopher Bell.
Yeah, I mean, he especially that he did it with Stuart Friesen's team, and I think that when you look at everything they went through with him having his injury last year and bringing on that truck, I think that 62 truck is a part-time truck, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so I'm sure that means a lot to the guys, and I like that the Cup guys are able to go down lower in those series because I think it makes the younger guys better, and two, it brings more sponsorship, brings more eyes, and it's also like Christopher Bale's the guy that I can root for, whether he's running the truck race, the Cup race, really well all around talent.
Yeah, it's the eighth, win for Christopher Bell the Truck Series. It's the first one since 2017, so it's been quite a bit since Bell's been winning in the Truck Series. Now, obviously, he's made a couple of spot starts here and there. But, at the end of that race, probably the most thing that we really seen is, I think it was the most rarest thing that we've seen throughout the whole weekend is we seen a car actually chasing down the lead car towards the end of the race. We'd hardly seen that throughout the weekend. It's usually whoever got the clean air, it was sayonara, goodbye. I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, and you saw that a lot in the O'Reilly race too, right? And which I'm not going to complain being a Larson fan, right? But I'm sure if you're not a Larson fan, you're looking at that and you're like, give me a break. Especially when the O'Reilly series, a lot of times the clean air out front doesn't usually have that big of an advantage the way that maybe the Cup series does. But I think he hit something on the head there because it did seem like the leader was going to be about a straightaway ahead on pretty much any race, especially the O'Reilly race.
Yep. And Chandler Smith was the guy that was chasing down Bell towards the end. And honestly, I think you gave Smith I'll say 3 laps because obviously Bristol's a short track. But, I mean, it's very possible on, 2 laps. He could have caught up to Bell and at least tried to move him for the win. And I would about 100% believe that Chandler Smith would make that move, given that there was money on the line. Which that was another big controversy that I seen online is he won the was it the money thing that the Truck Series was doing, but he didn't. But he didn't actually win it because the car you have to actually win the race to get the money. So they were saying where Christopher Bell won the race, there was no money given to Chandler Smith's team of Front Row, which I felt was kind of a crappy ordeal.
They announced that he did get it.
Yes, on air. Which I mean, it's still at the end of the day. I mean, at the end, it wasn't the main people in the media. It was the guy on pit road that said that. It wasn't like Jamie Little or anybody in the booth said it was the guy that was doing the interview, which he may have not known any better. So,
Right.
But Chandler Smith looked like he was excited, so I'm sure it was kind of like, well, dang it, man. That's not how it works. Obviously, another guy that we expect to do really good on these short tracks is Gio. We heard when he first came into NASCAR, he's kind of that bull ring driver. It's where he has his most expertise, having him up front at those short tracks like on Martinsville, which we haven't seen a lot of. We see him up front, but we don't see him competing on like a high level like we see him on the plate tracks. Plate tracks, for some reason, just seem to be like, where did Gio come from, and why is he leading so many laps at these plate tracks? One thing that I was kind of surprised about was obviously Kyle Busch looked pretty good at the start of this race and led 39 laps, but him and Carson Hocevar both in the Spire Trucks really seemed to struggle towards the mid-late race.
Yeah, I think, like, don't get me wrong, I mean, a Cup guy won, but I thought personally the Cup guys were a little bit lackluster for this truck race. I mean, when you look at the list and it's like Kyle Busch, Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Christopher Bale. Truly, I mean, only one of those, and I know there were Daniel Suarez was in there, and like truly for the most part of the race, only one of them was relevant. I mean, Chastain had to about work his way up, but he only got up to fourth. So thought it was pretty interesting that it looked like the Cup guys seemed to struggle a little bit that night.
I think the 45 truck being able to get to fourth is kind of a win in their book, because like that team historically just struggled for performance throughout the few years that they've been apart, and it seems like with them putting these Cup drivers in these trucks, it's starting to get them more better finishes historically than like they would have a full-time driver.
Well, I know Ross, when he ran in for Nice, it was a good fit, and I think he was part of the championship 4. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, you're right, man. I can't think of, not to be mean, but I can't think of many other relevant wins they've had outside of Chastain winning with them,
But I mean, at the end of the day, you got someone like Lane Riggs, had some good stage finishes, sure, but ended up finishing 22nd. I'm sure this is one that he would love to have back. That's
Especially
just
with that wreck.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Infanger, another guy that you usually see really good at the short tracks, I think finished like 27th. That's tough. Just a side note, and this is no joke to anybody, because obviously if you start in the truck series, I count that as a win. But I do not understand on the official like race results, the guy that finished 36th, the status, you know how it says like accident running, right? It says too slow.
Oh my gosh, who finished last?
Clayton Green did in the 22 truck.
I wonder if they had like a bad mechanical issue or well, I think didn't he have a wreck then come back out and he was too slow, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
if I am NASCAR, I'm putting like accident or mechanical failure. I'm not going to put too slow on the dang status thing, because it just makes you look bad. Like, what are you doing?
Like, let's hide this from the sponsors.
Like, I can't even read the name of the sponsor. It's like I don't want to give them the bad runtime for this. I don't know. I feel like there's a better way to do that than just riding too slow. It reminds me of like Johnny Benson at Daytona, I think, after he had a wreck. They did the same thing to him, and I'm like, this is dirty, man.
God.
Like, these people were trying to fight and claw their way to be able to do what they can on the NASCAR level, especially when we're just talking to someone who's talking about how tough it is to even get to any step on the ladder in NASCAR. And then you do that to someone like, yeah, I'm sure sponsors and people are really going to look at Clayton Green now and be like, you know what? I really want to sponsor the guy that they put too slow on the race results,
Well, especially,
on the official NASCAR race results.
I mean, and especially too when they like, and not to bash anybody, but like, especially like with ARCA, when some cars get lapped on like lap 3, and they don't put too slow for that, but they'll do that for that guy. That is kind of wild.
I don't know. Maybe that's just my rant for the day. I just feel like it's a bad taste for NASCAR to do that. They can do better. Do better, NASCAR. Come on. You can't build a good short track package, and you can't. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sure they could. They just
Really,
me. All right. Well,
we're not bitter.
definitely not. Let's talk about another amazing race that everybody, I'm sure, paid 100% to all 300 laps. The O'Reilly Series race. Hey, all I'm going to say is I predicted Connor Zilich to win, and the man did. Did he come out of the woodwork and do it? Maybe. Did he steal it from someone that probably deserved it a little bit more that led maybe over half of the laps?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. Am I glad to see it happen? Absolutely.
I'm glad you are. No, I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, when somebody like Larson is just kicking your tail the whole night, you got to do something different and see if it works. And they did, and it was something different, and it worked. So, but that's also the wisdom of Rodney Childers and a veteran crew chief like that helping out that one team.
Yeah, I think that's probably obviously I like Zilich. I have his first win career diecast sitting here. I think that people don't understand how hard it is to go to the cup level and perform. That's why we always sing Corey Himes praises. Even, Corey Himes is probably not our favorite driver. Like, we're not going to sit here and say we're Corey Heim fans. At least I'm not. I'm sure he's not going to say that. He likes Corey Heim, but he's not a fan of him. At the end of the day, Corey Heim can get into, a car, a third 2311 car, and perform on a high level where Zilich is struggling his first year at Trackhouse.
Yeah.
So for him to be able to come in O'Reilly's car and show that, hey, he's still the driver that he was last year. There's no changing that. It's just the different in weight class. Like, you're going from midweight to heavyweight. It's the difference with these cars. Like, it's not even the same ballpark. And obviously, I think Rodney Childress getting back into victory lane is just a great story in itself, especially how it seemed like he was kind of, I don't know, blackballed out of his job with Spire when they kind of did the NBA like head coach things like, hey, the team sucks. It's the head coach's fault. We're getting rid of him. Where it's ultimately most of the time the players that are really the problem.
It's hard to convince somebody that, like, if Rodney Childers ain't a good fit to you, then maybe you might be the problem. Because, like, I'm sure I mean, especially like some of these underfunded teams, man, if they could go for a Rodney Childers, they would in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the IQ alone. Like, I bet you Kyle Busch, I love Jim Pullman. I think Jim Pullman's a great crew chief. He won the Xfinity Series championship. I think that he's a great crew chief in mind, but I bet you if you're Kyle Busch, you probably want Rodney Childers on the box than you would Jim Pullman. First real tweak at the Cup Series car compared. Rodney had a lot of experience, even though he may not have the best outcome at Spire. At least he worked on the cars, and I think Bush's old school setup and Rodney Childress's old school mind would be a great combination.
I could definitely see that for sure. If and probably, and I know this is getting more into the cup level, but man, it probably wouldn't hurt to RCR to start thinking about what some changes could be made. But they ran well with Hendrick on Sunday, though.
Yeah, most definitely. As long as they weren't named Kyle Larson, Hendrick was running right beside most of the RCR guys.
Yeah, for sure.
But back to the O'Reilly Series race. I don't want to shortchange everybody. It's just you get sit here and you start theory crafting on stuff. It's just like, huh. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's messed up. But I think the race overall was anytime you have a race where the main guy leads over half the laps, it's usually a snoozer. Even if the outcome of the ending is, surprising, is exciting, sure. But if you're at the track and you're watching it, you're about to sleep by the time the ending's going on. And if you're watching it on TV, it's like multiplied by two. It's like you wake up and you're like, "Oh, Connor Zilic won? Am I reading right?"
Yeah.
It's like, what happened? Did Larson wreck or something? Me, but Blake, as a Larson fan, what were your thoughts about how things unraveled towards the end?
Well, I mean, you've got him kicking everybody's tail. I knew that eventually somebody was going to have to do something different, right? And so it almost made me expect it, right? But especially on the old tires, I was hoping that they would make a little bit more of a difference than what they did. If it's kind of crazy, I think the tires didn't do quite a lot this weekend, and even for like the O'Reilly series, sometimes they do, but they just didn't seem to do that. So I think that had probably had like a lot to play into it, but just Zilich made the right call at the right time, and Larson just couldn't get back up to him, and that's just how it is sometimes. I mean, I didn't like it, but that just is what it is.
It is what it is. One guy that you expect to do really good as well was Allgaier. Same thing with Quapple. And I mean, all the GRM cars were solid. I think the worst performing one was Sammy Smith, and he was like 13th.
Yeah,
Overall, had great days. Viking Motorsports finds their ways in the top 10 once again this week. Parker Reslaw finished ninth in the 99. They're starting to see like a common outcome this year.
that team is on a whole nother level
Yeah.
than where they were just 2 years ago, and even from last year. Like, that RCR alliance is awesome for them.
Everybody sees on the cup level how much RCR struggles, but the powerhouse of a program that they have built in regards to the engines and everything,
Yeah,
especially short track packages, they usually have them pretty dialed in. I think Resloff outfinished both Hill and Love, but even at the end of the day here, like RCR on the Xfinity / O'Reilly level last few years has been just incredible to watch. Was there anybody that really shocked you seeing how they performed? I know obviously all eyes go to Kyle Larson at the end of the day, but who was the guy that you're like, whoa, where'd that guy come from? Like, I don't see him at these racetracks that much.
I'll just reiterate what you did with Viking. It's just been impressive to watch them slowly be consistent and work their way up to where they had been, right? Like, I remember just 2 years ago they were struggling to make the race, and now it's like, man, it ain't gonna be long until they're in winning contention. And so, yeah, I would just say Viking.
Okay, I was gonna say Brent Cruz. I thought that
Yeah,
I don't see him at the short track level usually performing this really well. I think the mile and a halfs for sure, and the road courses he's really good. But for him to come out and be, I mean, right there in the running at the end, him, Larson, and Zilich, them three were the ones battling out towards the end.
yeah, I could see that, man. Brent Cruz is a great race car driver. Like, watching his racecraft on, let's see, Saturday night, man, that guy's gonna be good. He already is good, but man, he is epic. He is gonna be great.
Yeah, I think that Toyota with their pipeline, they have everything set up. They got some phenomenal talent between him and Swalich, and even the people in ARCA that they have lined up in the Toyota pipeline. They're solid for years. I hope.
Throwing people like Thomas and Nunziata that are in there. I mean, a lot of the female drivers are coming up through um the ranks through Toyota, and man, it's a pretty good program.
I think Chevrolet could find, or Ford, any of these other manufacturers, even Ram now. I mean, they could learn a thing or two about building a pipeline that will continue to produce better drivers. I think Toyota has always done probably the best job at developing their drivers. There was a point where Ford had like Briscoe and Cindric and Blaney all in the pipeline. I think Priest was even a part of that at one point. But since that initial, the Ford program universally has just struggled.
And they have one driver or one car in the O'Reilly series, and that's the 5 for Hettinger.
That's
And
depressing.
well, and honestly, there's been word on the street that they'll be at the next 2 O'Reilly races, but there was word that they might not even be able to make it to some races. And I hope that's not the case. But man, if that's AM's not racing right now, and man, if 5 for some reason can't do it, that if Ford has no drivers in the O'Reilly series, that is awful. I mean, they've got some in truck, right, but just not a good look for your future development at
Yeah,
all.
I mean, your pipeline is you
Front
go
row
for
trucks.
front row trucks, and then they go to Cup, I guess. I mean, at the current moment, unless there's a new race team, which at the end of the day, it's hard to open new race teams to be competitive. We're seeing how tough Colleague is, a organization that's been around for years, just changing manufacturer and looking at how much they're struggling with the Ram trucks.
Well, especially when you've done O'Reilly on face value, you think, well, just going to trucks would be easier. But no, they're still putting it together.
Yeah, I felt like the race overall was pretty decent. It's cool to see Zilich smiling back in victory lane. Seemed like get some energy back. Maybe when he comes across the next road course, which San Diego's probably the next road course.
Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen. Okay, okay, so he'll be. I mean, side of his first career win in the Riley series. So I think he'll be probably rock and roll in the Cup car. Hopefully by then.
Hopefully so.
I think the NASCAR needs the young talent to perform. All right, Cup level. It's kind of the same story, right? We see a guy that, I mean, he's dominated. What was it, 2 spring Bristols ago? He led almost like all 500 laps.
He led a lot in the night race of 2024, and then the
Spring race.
spring race of 25. I think combined he led like 800 and 900 some laps. Just those two, just in those 2 races. So yeah, he's pretty good there. Yeah, no, Larson almost. Yeah, I mean, pretty much same fate as Saturday night, right? I mean, leads a lot of laps, and then but also in fairness, there was a bit more competition that could overtake him as that first spot with like Blaney. He had a really good car. And then it comes down to some pit strategy, which is okay. I mean, I think that adds some twist to the race, right? And you see what was so confusing is like you think Ty Gibbs is not going to be able to hold off somebody like Blaney and Larson on older tires, and you would think the tire wear would be a lot just looking at the track with how like rubbered in it looked. But man, it just did not seem to matter as much as what it might should. But hey, you got to give kudos to Gibbs and his team for staying out and trying to keep the track position right, because obviously it was the right call. So kudos to them.
Yeah, I think it's most definitely a win that's been coming for a long time. I think that most NASCAR fans would admit that. Now, were they happy that he won? Popular vote would say no, they weren't happy. I didn't see a lot of happy people on the old Twitter. I know that.
I didn't hear the boos in the crowd that I thought I would though when he got out. That was interesting.
But you also didn't hear the cheers either. It was just
Yeah,
like a stagnant response. It was
like
like,
Switzerland, we're neutral.
yeah, it's like, let's say, like, I'm trying to choose someone. Austin Cindric wins a race. That's kind of the cheers and reaction level that you would. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying anything bad about Cindric. I think Cindric's a great personality. I know that he's not had a fantastic Cup career, just based upon with the ride he's in and everything. Especially, the 2. You think how prestigious of a career Brad Keselowski made in the 2 car.
yeah,
It's tough shoes to fill, and it's obviously not been the most amazing car for him. But just fan wise, he doesn't have a big fan base like a Kyle Busch or a Ross Chastain, a Michael McDowell, even like a Noah Gragson, someone
yeah,
that's in a lower tier ride. If he won, you would hear like top blow, but this is a guy that's in one of the 4 most prestigious race cars on the racetrack performance wise. I mean, you compare it to his teammates, Denny Hamlin, you're getting a response.
yeah. Oh,
Good, bad, you're getting one. Christopher Bell gets a good response every time he wins.
oh yeah.
Briscoe, for some reason, like, just come out of nowhere. He's kind of like the hero that they didn't expect to win Darlington and stuff. He gets a good reaction. And then Ty Gibbs, a guy that's name is on the side of the building, comes out of the race car and you hear static.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying there wasn't cheers in the crowd because there's always cheers in the crowd, but either the voice level on the broadcast was terrible or it just, there was not much enthusiasm.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different I thought there was a decent amount of cheers. Now I was expecting a huge like overwhelming like boo from the whole crowd. But yeah, it I was able to hear some, and I guess my perspective is like when he went up to get his flag, a lot of people were cheering from there. So I guess that's where I'm drawing it from. But I I will say something that I did appreciate about the post race with Gibbs in his interview. Something that is a pet peeve of mine is like when the drivers get out and they just like, yeah, super glad we won the race, and they talk kind of bland. That was not the case with Gibbs. Like you had him running up to Coach Gibbs, running up to the flag stand, took his mom in the side of the car and rode around. Like it looked like a genuine, like, hey, we're celebrating a win. And I respect that from what Ty Gibbs did. The way that they celebrated that win, I thought that was awesome. And I would love to see more winners celebrate like that. And I ain't gonna lie, from a fan's perspective, I respect him a little bit more because of it.
Let's pick someone that's not won a win in their career, right? At the cup level. I'm not going to pick Zilich because obviously Zilich is one guy that you're going to expect big cheers because JRM backing everything. He's good fans from that. Let's say someone like John Hunter Nemechek's not won at the cup level.
Yeah.
I think he might get more cheers than Ty Gibbs got.
Yeah.
That's a problem when the name value of who you are to the sport, your name's literally on the car, it's on the same on the building, right?
Yeah.
You're in one of the most prestigious cars on the track. I mean, everybody knows Penske, they know Hendrick, and they know Gibbs.
Yeah.
And you get a response like that. You have Monster Energy, a huge brand, which is a subsection of Coke, which they're not going to make a first win race diecast because Monster Energy is a subsection of Coke and they won't put anything on the diecast. So if they made a diecast, it's literally just going to be a black and green diecast with no decals on.
So bad. That's awful.
As a fan, that's just stupid. But
Yeah. That we don't win there, do we?
no, I digress all that. It's just, that's more of my statement is I think that, heck, even if Cole Custer won, I think he would get more of a reaction than Ty Gibbs got.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Bristol. I understand the track's, not fully capacity by any means, but the area that's usually got the most people is usually right there in the flag stand.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of the race because most people rush to go see it. Maybe it was just a whole bunch of Blaney fans that were upset that Blaney didn't win. Or Larson fans that didn't, they're like, I watched my guy dominate the whole race and dang, Ty Gibbs won. But I think anybody could see that this win was coming at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the car for a long time. Now, did it take a gamble for him to win? Absolutely. But when it's a race that we've seen for the last few weeks, clean air is king, you got to take the gamble for it.
Oh yeah. Well, and they've had a much better year this year too. Like he's putting up some respectable numbers for the Cup Series this year too. And so I don't think it was a fluke by any. I mean, he was up there. He was running well, put himself in position, and won the race. No fluke about it. He definitely earned it.
All right, let's get to another thing that was kind of a big topic between me and you is, I mean, if your name wasn't Kyle Larson this weekend, you're driving a Hendrick car, well, what's going on here? Like, I get that they usually give the bad setups to Alex Bowman to try out, but did they give it to the other three drivers?
Man, they absolutely missed it on the setup this week. I know Byron had some steering issues, and the 48 car, this ain't even a Bowman thing. 48 car just has not run well, even when Bowman wasn't in it. Allgaier just wasn't doing well with it. The fact that I think Austin Dillon finished ahead of Chase Elliott, like RCR was comparable with Hendrick, and like front row was doing better than Hendrick, it kind of shows you that they just missed it. It reminded me of Logano at Darlington a few weeks ago. It's just like this was just botched. I know they got a new nose on the car. Man, they gotta. I get you will have a bad weekend, but stuff like that is you just don't expect it from Hendrick, and it happens, right? I mean, it happens. Like there's obviously hope because Larson led a lot of laps, right? So they just gotta adapt, and truly for especially for Bowman's case, in order for him to get into the top 16 by the end, they got to start running well now, and to be able to get stage points, get a win here and there. That's going to be the only way to make it to the top 16 after all that missed and tough start to the season and a tough break yesterday.
I think. I mean, Ricky Stenhouse finished better than Chase Elliott did,
Yeah,
and that's not taken away from Ricky Stenhouse. I think he. I mean, he didn't struggle all day. He fought. That's what he
yeah,
did. Qualified 23rd, finished 17th. That's a good day. But yeah, I just think maybe it's just they. I don't even think I can say that. That's the sad part. Is they were expecting a whole different kind of setup, but then you got Kyle Larson that literally killed the setup.
yeah. I mean, and that just to play devil's advocate, is it a Hendrick problem? Or is it a 24-9 and a 48 problem?
Are they just funneling all the resources to the 5 car
Yeah,
now? Is that what's going on here?
I don't know. Be interesting to see it. Kansas is usually a really good track for all four Hendrick cars. I think that'll be a good telltale sign of where they're at. Now that Bowman's back in his natural habitat with that ride, I think it'll be a good telltale sign on how he's improving in the car just from being back, getting acclimated. I think it'll be a good sign.
I mean, he qualified 27th coming back. I mean, I think that's a good sign because Allgaier qualifying wise hasn't killed it throughout the weeks.
That's been about the same, really.
Yeah, so I think that we got a pretty good chance to see some good racing. Which I mean, next week, Blake, we got a pretty nice racetrack coming up, right? One
Yeah,
that's has some good results.
love Kansas. Been one of the best tracks on the circuit. Super excited. The progressive banking makes for a wonderful race with this car. And I tell you what might be lacking in the short track package, it makes up for in the mile and a half package. No doubt about it. So looking forward to a great weekend. Looking forward to some good battles for sure.
Yep. Before we get set up with that weekend, we give our shout out to our main I don't partnership here on the 4Y podcast, Mr. Kyle Wilkerson's Catering. Always been a big supporter here on the podcast, and we appreciate him for everything that he does. And I've seen a couple more things on Facebook. It seems like it's starting to ramp up as we get into the season. I mean, I think of summertime. I think of barbecues and stuff. I'd imagine that his catering business is going to be, I mean, it's already cooking off the chain, but it's about to ramp up really hard, really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they are booked out the wazoo right now. And so super excited that Kyle is getting a lot of good business. I mean, you look at the food he posts, it's like, how could he not get good business, right? I mean, it's all there. It's all there with Wilkerson Catering. So book them and consider them for your next catering event.
Alrighty, well, Blake, we're going to move on to Kansas, which is a place that has really good food historically. The ribs and barbecue sauce at Kansas is usually
There
something that's usually shouted out. I'm sure
and great racing.
Yep, great racing, great
Yep.
barbecue. Supposedly, I'm a big Carolina barbecue fan, just based upon where I'm at. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about Kansas here. There's a couple of names in the O'Reilly series that are going to be making starts. Luke Baldwin's returning in the 5 car this week. Jacques Roof will be in the 32, given that rotational system that they got going on with JRM. The 35 is to be announced on here. 42 Nick Lance. 55 Joey Gase. 74 is to be a William Byron's going to be in the 88 machine this weekend, and Mason Macherio will be in the 91 car. I believe that was one guy that our guest talked about today that he raced against at Hickory. So that's really cool to see how everything kind of lines up.
Yep.
Cup, there's nobody in a special cars this week, so all cars will make the race. I will say that Cole Custard is returning to the O'Reilly Series this week in the Zero car, I think, for SS Greenlight. So be on the lookout for that. That's definitely one guy that I usually have circled. Historically he was really good in the Xfinity Series in the past. So I know Cup career's been kind of a struggle start, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does this weekend. Kansas has been a great racetrack for great racing. We've seen some. I mean, the finish last year in the fall was insane. I don't know if we can expect the same type of finish by any means, but there's one thing that we can expect to be the same, and I think you're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the you look at the tires, they're going to be running a lot of familiar sets this week, and to me, I think one thing that's going really well with the mile and a half is I think you've kind of hit the golden age of the mile and a half when it comes to the pavement on how wore out it is. It's not too wore out, but it's wore out enough that tires tend to matter, and you've got great racing. It works with the cars, works with the tires, and really good on the progressive banking. So I think what you'll see is a lot of lanes, and if you got a right front that's starting to wear a little bit, you'll see some guys progress to the top to give the right front a break and start working on the right rear a little bit, and vice versa. So looking forward to it. It's been about a perfect combination with the tires, with the car, with the track. I think we're in for a good show.
Definitely agree with you on that. I think we're going to see some great racing. I think that this weekend, I hate that the trucks don't race there in the spring.
Yeah.
I know that their next race is Texas, I think, right? Yep. So they're skipping this week, which I don't know, man. I'm excited though because colleague announced that Parker Kligman's going to be racing at Texas, right?
Yep.
For Ram Trucks.
Yep. So that'll be in a couple weeks.
Finally a driver, you know. Sorry, I'm kidding. I think a lot of Ty Dillon. I really do. I just think that we've not seen him winning the Truck Series. I mean, ultimately, right?
He's won a couple, but that was back years ago. RCR. I mean,
Yeah, and that was like powerhouse RCR days in the Truck Series.
for sure.
Like, I don't know. You can't just expect greatness out of the Rams for the first year, but man, it's been a tough going. So I hope Kligerman's able to put on a pretty good performance for them at Texas, which we'll talk about next week. We won't get into too much details about that. What is your spicy take for this week at Kansas, my friend?
I'll say Isabella Robusto wins the ARCA race.
Yeah. Did she have a pretty good showing last year at the ARCA race in Kansas?
I can't remember. I want to say yes until a car failure happened. I can't exactly remember, but I think you got right equipment, and I think you could go that way for sure.
She's been close so many times already at this point.
And man, she is a racer. And I think even I think you. I could be wrong, but I think even Jade Abedison's going to be in this race too. Shout out to our guy Brayton. He's going to be in Kansas this weekend too. So super excited that Brayton's getting to get back into the racing schedule. So we'll definitely have him on the podcast sometime soon.
Spoiler.
Yeah, don't know when, but it will be soon.
Soon could be like next week, or it could be
September,
October.
Yeah.
I think my spicy take this weekend is we are going to see a team that we've not seen in victory lane so far this year in all the races.
Okay.
So we're not in the Xfinity / O'Reilly, the Cup, and the ARCA Series.
I love it.
No triple dipper there that you can get at was it Chili's triple dipper at Chili's? I guess for our Pick'em series, I can recap what happened this weekend, but obviously we can't make our picks because,
How about we pick for them?
dude, if we do that, it would be fine with me because we would make sure that they get the best picks that they can get.
Right, very best.
Well, even Kent last week was like, "Hey guys, I'm probably not gonna be able to make it, so you guys can just push me to be last on the picks." And I'm like, "Daggone, man, he's setting us up to win here."
Yeah.
Alrighty here. Well, Kent picked Christopher Bell to win the Truck Series race, and therefore he won. I picked Chandler Smith. I ended the streak.
You did.
I finally won.
Yeah, I think I finished last with Stenhouse.
Yeah, like finishing second is a win for me at this point. Like, I still have not broke. I'll mention that here in a minute. Austin picked Kyle Busch, and obviously Kyle Busch finished 7th, I think. Blake did pick Stenhouse, who finished in the mid-20s.
Not great, but
He did pretty good in the other truck start that he had though this
Yeah.
year. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that factored into you picking him.
well, and he's run good at Bristol before too. So yeah. Oh well.
So currently the points to the Truck Series, Kent, with his win, boosts his lead out to 265 points. Blake, you are in second with 180. He's got almost 100-point gap. you, Austin has 125 points, and I've almost broke 100, guys. I am at 95.
Close.
I'm closing the gap on third, guys. Slowly but surely. Okay, for the O'Reilly Series race, I picked Connor Zilic with the last pick, by the way, guys, and won the race. So that worked out pretty great for me. I technically didn't have the last pick, though, because Kent said he was going to pick Austin Hill, and I had the last pick. So he skipped me, and I was like, fine, you can take Austin Hill, that's fine. So he tried to cheat. He finished dead last. Cheaters never win.
That's right.
Blake picked his boy Kyle Larson, and obviously Larson was quite the race car, but finished second this week.
Few stage wins.
A few stage wins. And Austin picked Quapple, and Quapple was right up there up front. I think he finished in the top 5, or just outside the top 5. He was competing. The O'Reilly Series, I am in the lead with 280 points after this week. I'm leading something. Blake, you're right behind me, though, only 10 points out. Second with 270. That is at 255. And Austin is at the bottom of the food chain with 200 points. So,
Dang.
Cup Series, it looks very much like my Truck Series in the past. I picked Denny Hamlin this week, and Denny Hamlin did not have a phenomenal day by any means. He had an all right race, but not to the level of Kent's Ty Gibbs pick. And I will say, I think Kent had the first pick this week, and he went out and picked Ty Gibbs. So he had the feeling. He had the tickle. And
Yeah.
he got it. Austin picked Blaney, who ended up finishing second, was racing for the lead. Blake, you finished third by picking Tyler Reddick. Well, I think finished top 5, right?
A 6 or 7. Yeah. 4.
Yep.
Yeah. Somewhere around there. Yeah.
Close enough. And I picked Denny Hamlin. I think he finished top 10, maybe a little bit outside. Strategy kind of shuffled everybody around a good bit at the end, too. So Kent is in the lead. Go figure. He makes the point system for this year, and he's in the lead. 240 points. Blake, you're not too far behind. You have 225 points. I'm not too far behind either. I'm only 40 points out of the lead at 200. And Austin's right behind me with a 190-point performance. So based upon that, I would get the first pick at Kansas. I don't know, man. I would say Denny Hamlin, but I picked him last week. Chase Elliott's the guy that obviously I'd probably have to circle after last year's performance.
Yeah.
Even though he kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace does really good at Kansas.
Reddick.
Yeah, Reddick's really good at that racetrack. You can't pick Reddick this week, by the way. Sorry.
I'd say, at least for me, I think Larson's probably the logical pick.
I can't pick Reddick either.
Yeah.
Wait, I picked Bowman this week, right?
Yeah, you picked Bowman. You didn't pick Hamlin.
So why did they write Hamlin beside my name?
Oh, maybe you can pick Hamlin this week.
Boy,
Man, we're shaking it up.
I think I picked Hamlin at Martinsville, right? Yeah, I picked Hamlin at Martinsville because I won.
Yeah.
So someone messed up. Anyways, I picked Bowman this week. I felt like it's a good racetrack for him. He's won at Bristol before, so I was like, well, I'll
Yeah.
take a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
And honestly, it looked okay at the start of the race. He wasn't gonna win based upon his performance, but then he got in that wreck in the back. I think John Hunter Nemechek, him and SVG all kind of got collected together and had a happy accident, and that kind of took him out of the race.
Yeah.
Anyways, the reset. I I might put Bubba Wallace at the top of my list there. Let me see. Kent would have the first pick this week at the O'Reilly Series, so can't really pick trucks. I mean, technically, Blake, I know it's next week, but you could probably pick trucks too. So,
Well, I think they go to Talladega, then Texas. So
not according to this list.
really,
Yep. I think they might have 2 weeks off, brother.
I'll wait till that week and make my pick.
He's like, I got to see who's starting at Texas before I make my pick. I was trying, guys, trying to get in his head. It's not like I matters. I'm like, there's no chance I'm winning trucks this year. If I win the trucks this year, I'm going to go out and buy my own truck diecast to be like, yes.
Get you a right.
All right. Well, Blake, great conversation today. I'm looking forward to listening to this back and hearing the stuff that, sometimes like podcasts like this are a good re-listen for us because we get to hear it again and absorb, it's one thing to be a part of a conversation, but when you hear the conversation again, a lot more things can be more potent to you. So I'm looking forward to going through this and listen to all his thoughts. And I really appreciate him being on. And guys, if you know any NASCAR drivers that you want to have on the podcast, just let us know. We'll reach out to them at this point. Local short track guys, fans, even, I think at this point, Blake, I think we might just start messaging tracks and be like, can we have your track announcer come on and talk on the podcast?
Track.
Yeah. Track promoter. The Humpy Wheelers.
Yeah.
Start getting the Humpy Wheelers on here.
Absolutely.
Hey, if Steve O'Donnell's on Door Bumper Clear, I think the floodgates are open for anybody, right?
True.
I seen that this week and I was like, there's no shot.
No.
There's no shot. It's like one thing to go on the Dell Jr. download. It's a lot more of a collectively calm, collected conversation. But
ABC's sure.
to have Tommy Baldwin, Freddie Kraft, and Steve O'Donnell in the same room.
I know, it was pretty good.
That's insane. It's like you want to sit down and have a meal with like 4 people. That's not 4 people I would collectively, including yourself. That wouldn't be a dinner table that I would necessarily choose out of the 4, but it was a good one. It was a good conversation. Yeah. They always do a great job over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if we disagree with them on some things.
Yeah.
I think. All right. Well, anything else you want to say there, Bucko?
No, it was good, man. We'll be on next week, and we'll have some more fun.
Yep. Sounds like a plan, Jelly Bean. I will see you next week.
All right.
Goodbye, adios, and see you guys in the future. When Alex Bowman is one Kansas. See you guys later.